Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're going to give it about a minute. I think a lot of people are going to be joining here any second. Appreciate you being here. We are going in deep with agents today. So, this is a good one for you to join if you haven't started digging into agents, or if there's just been a lot of chatter out there in the industry about agents, and you're kind of thinking, like, what in the heck are agents? Or how do I use agents better? You came to the right place. So, we'll give it in about another 30 seconds and we will. Hang on, I've got to put my do not disturb on, you guys. My Teams is blowing up like the Alamo over here. Hold on. Love that do not disturb feature. Hey, Josh, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting later.
Awesome. We'll see you at 50 minutes after the hour. Okay. As usual, friends, we have a lot to go through today. And to try to avoid talking at light speed like I usually do, I'm just going to go ahead and dive in. And I would love to hear from any of the attendees. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. If you have scenarios specific that you would like me to cover around agents, please drop that into the chat. We may not have time today, but I would love the opportunity to add it into a future session for you. And if you have had any success using anything that you learned from the 101 or the 201 series sessions, please drop it in the chat. We want to learn from each other. That is the reason that I'm building this community. So without further ado, thanks again. Welcome back. Appreciate you being here for the 301 session of From Copilot to Conference Room. Quick reconnect to the journey that we've been on together so far. So in 101, we built the foundation. Copilot as your personal productivity layer, grounded in your Microsoft 365 data. In 201, we took that to the meeting itself, how Copilot supports you before, during, and after every meeting. And we got our first real taste of Agentic AI, or an agent, with our discussion around Facilitator. Today is really a turning point of the whole series. We're going to go deep in on agents, what they actually are, how they're different from Copilot that you've been using so far, how to use the agents Microsoft already gives you and has available to you, and then how to build your own, which is really exciting. And the whole time, I really still want you connecting this back to the physical meeting room, because agents are exactly why the meeting room becomes the place where this all has to come together, which is the reason why so many of you are here today. So by the end of today, you should be able to confidently explain to your coworkers, your partners, your customers what an agent is, show them 3 or 4 agents that they can use today, and then even walk them through building one if you want to go that far. That's the goal. So let us dive into it. Again, you are here in the 301 session. We have, for this 4-part series, we have one more session on July 8th, where we're going to go into wrapping services and services profitability for our partners around what we've learned in this series, and talk a little bit more about Express Install solutions. And then we may even do a second series. So like a 102, a 202, a 302, just to keep going a little bit further deeper each time into the pillars that we have started in this series that we've covered. Because the information, okay, good. Thanks for the confirmation that you guys would like to see that, because the information just keeps growing. There's always going to be something new to learn about Copilot and your personal productivity layer. There's always going to be a new agent to talk about, right? So understanding that learning about Copilot is not linear. I think we're just going to keep this as a series where people can come in, attend the sessions that are relevant to them, and they'll all get posted to my YouTube as well. So please feel free to share. Invite as many people from your organization, your partners, your customers, et cetera. This is a really just solid, I think we're trying to build a solid learning community where it's like judgment-free zone, right? And everybody can kind of come in and learn in a like a safe space where we're not judging you if you don't know what Facilitator is or how to build your own agent, right? This is like that really like just sort of a place where we can kind of all, we've worked together in the industry together, and now we're like, what is this new stuff that's happening so fast? You can just come back here and we'll just keep the learning going. All right. And again, if you don't have my YouTube channel, I will link it in the chat. You may actually be able to click this live link right here as well. So make sure to bookmark that if you haven't already. Okay, so let me ground us with a fast, a little bit deeper recap, because today builds directly onto the last two sessions. In 101, you'll remember that the whole point was that Copilot is grounded in your Microsoft 365 data, your emails, your chats, your meetings, your documents. That is what makes it personal and relevant to you as an individual contributor in your roles. We built a day in the life for polyproductivity. You walked away with your own prompts to use and try. And then in 201, we brought Copilot into the meeting before, during, and after. And we got our first look at the Facilitator agent, taking notes and capturing action items live in the meeting. So here's the shift for today. Everything up to now, Copilot has been an assistant. You ask, it responds. It's totally reactive. An agent is different. An agent has a job to do, knowledge to draw on, and the ability to take action, sometimes without you even being there, sometimes totally autonomous and automated. 101 was about working smarter. 301 is about getting Copilot to work for you. And as we'll see, that is exactly, again, why the meeting room matters so much. We're going to kind of build that connective tissue for you today. So this is the single most important concept in today's session. So I want to slow down here a little bit. On the left is what you've been using, Copilot as an assistant. And it's incredible, but it's reactive. You ask a question and it gives you an answer. You prompt, it responds. One turn at a time. You are still doing the orchestrating. On the right is an agent. An agent has a job. You give it a goal and it works towards that goal across multiple steps. You only gave it one goal. It's doing the multi-step working on your behalf, right? You only have to give it one step, tell it the end goal that you want, and it's going to run through it for you. So it will pull in knowledge, taking actions on your behalf, and in some cases running entirely in the background without you prompting it at all. And the facilitator from 201 is a perfect example. It just does its job during the meeting, right? So that kind of gives you, like, you can set parameters for agents of when they should work and how often they should work. But the line I want you to take internally or with your customers or constituents is this. Copilot is the interface for AI. It's how people interact with it. But agents are how the work actually gets done. When you ask, what's the difference between Copilot and an agent, that's your answer. It's how people interact with it, right? So it matters commercially because agents are what turn AI from a feature into a workforce. And a workforce needs to show up everywhere that people work, including in the meeting room. So I hope that that's clear. I hope I'm not starting everybody off with confusion to jump. But Copilot is the interface for AI. It's how people interact with it. But agents are how the work actually gets done in the background, right? Okay, so agents can sound abstract. They sound conceptual, right? So I always break them down into three simple ingredients. And once you see this, it stops being kind of a black box. So first, instructions, meaning what it does. This is just a plain language job description. You are a meeting facilitator. Keep the meeting agenda, capture decisions and action items, and stay neutral. It's no coding. You do not have to code. You don't have to develop. It's just words. Very similar to a prompt, right? Second is knowledge, what it knows. An agent is only as smart as what it's grounded in. That could be a SharePoint site, a specific document, your Microsoft Graph data, or approved websites. And this is what makes the agent's answers accurate and specific to your world and what you need it to do instead of just generic, right? So I build marketing agents, right? Where I have a SharePoint site with all of my marketing plans, and I built an agent just to retrieve information from that location only. It is grounded only in the SharePoint site that I gave it access to, right? So I know it's accurate based on what's in that information it has access to. Third is actions, meaning what it can do. So some agents just answer questions. Like the marketing example I just gave you, it's retrieval based. I built a SharePoint site with a bunch of marketing plans, and then I built an agent to go in and access and find information or analyze information that's in that SharePoint site. But the more powerful agents take action. They can create a document. They can update a record in another system. They can kick off a workflow. So remember these three words: instructions, knowledge, and actions, because here is the payoff. When we get to the build section, building an agent is literally just filling in these three boxes: instructions, knowledge, actions. That's it. And not every agent is the same. And a lot of times we'll hear, how far does this go? So I do like to show the spectrum. On the simplest end, there's a retrieval agent. These just answer questions over your data that you give your agent access to. It's like grounded Q&A. It's not going into the void, looking at everything. It's going to a specific area that you have guided it to. For example, like, what's our return policy? What did we decide in last week's pipeline review? They're safe, they're fast, and they're the easiest place for us to start when we're looking at building or using agents. In the middle are task agents, and these take a goal and carry it through multiple steps. They're not just answering, they're drafting, they're summarizing, they're organizing, they're updating. And the Facilitator and Microsoft Planner agent, which we'll talk about today, live here. On the far right are autonomous agents. These are triggered by an event. So a new email arrives or an email meeting ends, and then they go work on their own, and then they report back to you. No prompt needed. The point is, you don't have to start in the deep end over here, right? Most organizations or individuals begin with retrieval, they build confidence, and they move right along this spectrum. And every step in the spectrum is more valuable, which again is more reason to make sure that the experience is consistent everywhere, including our meeting rooms, our physical meeting rooms. So where do the agents actually live? The good news for you is that they are right where you already work. There's no new app to learn. There are three sources of agents. First, there's agents that Microsoft builds and ships. So there's Facilitator, there's Planner, Researcher, Analyst. There's a lot. We'll talk through them. These exist in Microsoft 365 Copilot and are ready to go. Second is the agent store. There's thousands of agents from Microsoft, from partners that you install with a click. It's just like downloading a new application. And then third, the agents that you build for yourself, which is what we'll guide you through examples of today. And here's the part that I really want to land. Wherever those agents come from, they show up across every Microsoft 365 surface. So the same agent can meet you in Teams, in Outlook, in the Copilot app, inside Word, on your phone, and critically in the Teams room, right? So that last one is the whole reason that this series exists, right? So keep your eye on Teams rooms in that list, because everything we build today kind of delivers its full value when we see the meeting room itself as an AI endpoint. So we will come back to that. So, all right, let's actually talk through some of these agents. Let's get practical about it, right? Because I want to kind of bring it into how you might see this or encounter these types of things in your day-to-day. The fastest way to experience agents is to use the ones that Microsoft already ships, right? So there's no building, no IT project. They just exist in Microsoft 365 Copilot today. So if we look at these four: Facilitator, Planner, Researcher, and Analyst, I picked these because together they tell a complete story. So Facilitator runs your meeting, right? Planner turns it into work. Researcher and Analyst show that agents go way beyond meetings into deep thinking and data. But again, you want what I call the vault of knowledge that you created from your meetings and Facilitator, your tasks from those meetings and Planner, to have, you want the Researcher and Analyst agents to have access to those vaults of information that you built in your meetings, right? So let's start with the one you already met in our 201 session. Let's talk about Facilitator. So I'll keep this tight since we kind of already reviewed some of this, and then let's push forward. The facilitator is just a Copilot powered agent that joins your team's meetings and helps you run your meetings. So it's available on your desktop meetings when you're joining a hybrid virtual Teams meeting, and it's available for your team's meeting rooms, right? And it captures notes and decisions in real time. It turns the conversation into action items with owners, and anyone in the meeting can interact with it live. So, what have we decided so far in our meeting? And you're just plugging this into the chat of the meeting. What are my action items? And then here's the concept that really makes it special, and it's the one I really want you to kind of, think more about. So, classic Copilot, if you've used it, you'll know it's a one-on-one experience. It's helping you. The facilitator is a shared experience. It's helping everyone in the meeting at the same time. It's a teammate in the room, not a personal assistant. Now, hold that thought, everyone in the room at the same time, because in a minute, we're going to put this agent into a physical conference room, and that's where the hardware conversation begins. The facilitator has captured action items in a meeting, hypothetically, right? This happens all the time. I'm in a meeting or I'm following meeting. Maybe I'm not in the meeting because I'm double booked in that meeting time. But if I was invited to that meeting or my name is mentioned in that meeting and I'm being assigned tasks, facilitator is capturing that information. Where do those actions actually go? Because if they just sit in meeting notes, they still get lost, right? I can't go back and read every chat thread or even every email that's related to every meeting that's on my calendar. And this is where the planner agent comes in. As tasks are identified in the meeting, planner structures them. It assigns an owner, it adds a due date, and it keeps the context of the meeting. So we know why I'm doing this action item. What's the goal? What is the outcome of me being assigned this task? And it pushes them straight into Planner and To Do, if you've used Microsoft To Do before, where the work actually happens, right? So it's not necessarily just an email reminder that you're getting. It's actually adding it to this agent, this application. So that means it's visible, trackable, and across the whole team, across everybody that was in that meeting. And this shift is huge because meetings stop being a place where work is just talked about, and it becomes a place where work is captured and assigned and moved forward automatically. And every attendee walks out with their action items already in their system, right? In their Microsoft application system. So nobody's relying on memory or a screen grab you took of a presentation you were half listening to, because we're all multitasking. And notice that whiteboard and the whiteboard and memory problem is exactly what falls apart in a room without the right devices. And you've probably all experienced that as well in the past too, right? So we're taking like phone shots or screen grabs of whiteboards where we're hoping that we remember everything that we discussed on the beautiful whiteboard. Okay, so I added researcher and analyst on purpose because I don't want anyone leaving thinking the agents are only a meeting thing. Agents do deep reasoning heavy work too. So the researcher agent does multi-step research. It connects your internal work data with the web, and it reasons across many sources all at once and produces real briefings for you. So a market scan, a customer background, a plan, and it cites where the information came from. And again, this does not risk your organization's intellectual property. It is not building like a large language model. It is an agent, so your information is still secure, but it has access to your graph, your information in your organization, but then it also bounces information outside of the web to get more information for you, right? So your information is still trusted, secure, et cetera, but it's accessing the web to pull more information. So think about prepping for a big partner meeting. Instead of an hour of digging or researching, you just delegate it. And then the analyst agent thinks like a data scientist. So you can point it at your data let's say maybe a spreadsheet of sell through or a pipeline export, and it runs real analysis. It shows its work step by step, and it comes back with insight and recommendations, not just numbers, right? Because pulling a pivot table and, getting, summing cells A1 through A10, that's easy. We can do that on our own. The agent is looking at, it's sending you summaries of next steps. It's giving you verbiage, right? A plan, not just numbers. So for our audience today, that is gold. So imagine it handling your monthly reporting. And you can ask, hey, where's the white space? Where's the opportunity here that I'm missing when I'm just looking at this spreadsheet of information? So the takeaway is that these are reasoning agents. They show you that this isn't just autocomplete, right? Ask, receive in terms of, prompting Copilot. It's a thinking workforce for you. A thinking workforce is something that you want available to everyone, right? That's why agents are so, they're massive right now, because everyone is building their own agents. Like, hey, I'm gonna build this agent and have it delegate. I'm gonna delegate to do things on my behalf, kind of behind the scenes, right? So everyone kind of has their administrative assistants now, and every space that they work, right? So a lot of people are building personal agents at home as well. And here's the moment that we've kind of been building towards. So everything that we just covered, facilitator, planner, the shared meeting AI, it assumes that the agent can actually perceive the meeting. Your whole book of meetings. How many meetings do you have a day, a week, a month? We are assuming that agents can perceive your meetings. And in native Teams rooms, it can. So there's certified Teams microphones that hear every voice. There's whether those voices are remote or in the room. There's cameras and devices that frame each speaker so that the agent know who's said what. People can talk to it out loud. Hey, Copilot. Hey, Facilitator. Go find more information on this topic that we're discussing. Hey, Facilitator, remind me and add a task that Amanda needs to create a summary of our roadmap for this. And everyone is included equally, whether they're in the room or joining the room virtually. If we look on the other side, put a single laptop on a conference table. BYOD is how we often refer to that as. Bring your own device. It's one mic, one camera, but more importantly, it's one viewpoint and one attendee, regardless of how many people are in that meeting room with you. So the three people at the other sitting across from the table, unheard. The whiteboard, unseen. So the facilitator's notes are partial. The action items are incomplete. The shared meeting AI experience, the thing that the customer or your organization paid for with their Copilot licenses, quietly breaks. And this is the unlock for us, right? So the agent is the reason the room hardware suddenly matters. I mean, we in this industry think it's always mattered, right? But in terms of AI investment, AI productivity, building agents in an agentic workforce, this is where it matters. Copilot makes the room a participant, but only if the room is equipped to participate. So hold that, because we'll bring it home again at the end. But first, let's look at building agents. So this is the part of the series that I've kind of teased all the way back through the 101 session of this journey. So if you may remember, I said 101 is about using Copilot to work smarter, but 301 is about using Copilot to build smarter. Here we are. And I want to take the intimidation out of this session right now, because building an agent is not a development project. For what we are talking about today, there is no code. If you can write a clear set of instructions in plain language, you can build an agent. It's really that simple. So remember our three ingredients. We had instructions, knowledge, actions. Building is literally just filling in the blanks for those three pillars. And there are two doors into building agents. And I want it to be clear when to use both or each. And there's more than this, right? But I don't want to overwhelm everybody. So I'll do a quick summary at the end of some of the things that we'll talk about in a future session. But this is the foundational information for you guys. So the first is Agent Builder. And it lives right inside the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, and it's no code, and it's included with your Copilot license. So you describe what you want in plain language. You point it at some files or a SharePoint site for knowledge. You test it and you share it in minutes, not weeks, no code. And this is where most people should start. Like for myself, I do not have a computer science degree. I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder. This is where I started. The second is Copilot Studio. This is low code, more powerful, right? So it's where you connect agents to hundreds of business systems and triggers so agents run autonomously and they build multi-step logic. This is for IT teams, the makers of your organization, and frankly, it's really a service opportunity for partners who can build and sell custom agents. This is where a lot of organizations, frontier firms, if you've heard us talk about frontier firms, this is kind of their bread and butter, right? They're really learning how to build service agents to resell. So my guidance is to start an agent builder, kind of prove the value for you, see how easy it is to use, learn the language to use within it, and kind of build your understanding of what it can do. Then graduate to Studio when you need connectors, triggers, or autonomy. So today we're going to look at Agent Builder because I want everyone here to feel like they have the confidence to do it. So let's name the parts because this is your build checklist. So instructions, right? On the far left, the job description in plain words. The knowledge is what you ground it in. Where is it getting its information to answer or provide you or draft what you need? So that could be SharePoint files, SharePoint sites, files, folders, your Microsoft Graph, websites. Actions is what it can actually do. And then an optional fourth is triggers. And that's when you want it to run on its own, which is the autonomous tier, and usually lives in Copilot Studio. I'll kind of digress a little bit here. If you are keeping up with the announcements from Microsoft Build, you'll know that we announced Microsoft Scout. This is an autonomous agent. Within Scout, everyone on our team here at Microsoft is building our own agents. Mine is called Clio. And Clio every day does tasks for me. So she will review my inbox and tell me what I need to prioritize for today. She will analyze reporting details for me. She'll go to my partners and request information from them. And then she'll analyze the information that comes back, all without me having to prompt her to do that. So she's just doing that throughout the day for me. I tend to use, maybe some of you can relate, I tend to use email as a to-do list. Like Outlook is just a big checklist, to-do list of stuff I got to do every day. But that is not what Outlook is meant to do. And we're all frankly spending too much time in Outlook. So Clio, if I categorize something as a, create task, Clio knows, hey, this email is categorized as create task. I need to add this to a list for Amanda so that we can create a task in her to-do or her planner agent. So it's just, there's a lot of different ways that it can do that type of work for you autonomously. But let's think about something relevant to our business. So we're going to potentially build like a Teams room advisor agent. So the job, a partner, or even a customer describes a room, and the agent recommends the right potential setup for it. This is hypothetical, but it's a possibility. So it would do two things. It's a useful agent for our audience, and it deliberately would preview maybe the express install, which is the 401 part of this series, and room sizing conversations that we're going to go into deep on 401. So this build is also kind of a bridge to the next 401 session. These are all tied together. So if you remember Polly Productivity from the 101 and 201 sessions, it's the same persona, and watch her kind of build this live in her head. Right? This is how Polly would go about building this agent. So her problem just is that she knows her partners are excellent at big, complex meeting rooms. But we have a lot of these other rooms, right? We have small rooms, huddle rooms, kiosks, small collaboration spaces, or even dynamic rooms that are, changing in scope frequently. So she wants to build a simple agent that her team or her distribution partners can use to set up the right specs for smaller spaces. And here's the reassuring part, right? Because it's just the whole build is just 4 steps. So we describe and instruct and add knowledge and add actions and test. Then we publish and share, and that's it. So it mirrors the prompt by prompt style of our 101 session from a few weeks ago. But let's see what the actual words Polly might use in step 1. So step 1, this is Polly's prompt. And it's exactly the mindset shift from our 101 session. She doesn't try to be a prompt engineer. She just describes what she wants in plain English. And the agent builder drafts the agent for her. See how easy this is? So if we look at the conversational prompt on the left, create an agent called Teams Rooms Advisor. It helps us recommend the right solutions. When someone describes a room, ask missing questions, and then recommend a certified, bundle. Explain why and note and express if it's eligible for express install. And then use a friendly expert tone and always recommend our native Teams Room solutions over BYOD, for example. And so this one paragraph sets up everything on the right: the name, the purpose, the behavior. So see how she told it to ask clarifying questions? That is important because the shape of the output and the tone plus a guardrail. The last line is deliberate. Always favor native MTR is a business rule baked into the agent for this scenario. You can be that opinionated when you are building your agents. It can be very black and white. This is the instruction ingredient. Done. So let's look at knowledge. So step 2 is what separates a useful agent from a generic chatbot. Knowledge. This is the ingredient that makes the agent an expert in Polly's world instead of just the internet, right? She's grounding it in this scenario in 3 things: her SharePoint enablement site, which holds the approved MTR or Teams Rooms device catalogs, certified bundles. She uploaded a couple of files: room sizing guidance, express install eligibility checklist, and one approved web source, the official Microsoft Teams Rooms device finder. So it stays current automatically, right? So she gave it access to a site that she knows is monitored and updated, and consistent and accurate, a reliable website. Now the question every customer and security team asks is, what about my data? So 2 things to reassure them is, 1, that the agent only sees the sources we explicitly give it. And 2, it respects existing Microsoft 365 permissions. So if a user of an agent isn't allowed to see a document, the agent won't surface it to them. So you're not creating a data leak risk. You're working inside the same security model you've already built to trust. And that governance story is a huge part of this conversation, right? Because it's consistent, even as individuals across your organization are building out their own agents. Security and trust is consistent, and it's built on the exact same Microsoft 365 permissions they have as an individual user. So step 3 has 2 parts: actions and testing. So actions are what the agent actually can do beyond answering you. So Poly Productivity added a few. Look up a certified bundle from the catalog, draft a recommendation summary, estimate how many devices a room might need, and even email the recommendation straight to the partner, hypothetically. So each action makes the agent more of a doer, less of a talker or a responder in terms of prompting. And then you test it right here in the preview pane before anyone else ever sees it, right? So if we look at the example, Polly typed, we have a 6-seat huddle room used for hybrid calls. What do you recommend? And over here is what agent is doing. It recommends a certified all-in-one bar with a touch console. It explicitly says native Teams rooms, not BYOD, so everyone is heard and seen. That's the guardrail she set up in step 1, right? It's doing its job. It flags express install eligibility, and it offers to draft the recommendation. That's all 4 ingredients working together. And if something's off, she just refines the instructions as part of the setup, and then she can test again. It's a tight little loop. And then the last step, and this is where the effort pays off, right? Because once Polly has built this, she can now share it and scale it. So there's 3 sharing levels. You can keep it to yourself. Polly can just use this as her own agent to help her with her individual tasks. Especially while maybe she's still refining. Maybe she wants to use it for a couple of weeks before sharing it. She can share it with specific people, or she can share it with a team, like her pod or even her partner's customers, or submit it for IT approval and publish it across the whole organization. The same governance model is that you'd expect is still built into that, right? And if we remember the ecosystem slide, so once it's shared, this agent shows up everywhere that those people work, in Teams, in the Copilot app, on their mobile device, so they can spec a room from their desk during a call, right? From the customer site, literally standing in an empty conference room, pointing their phone around, right? And once it's built, it's useful everywhere. So that's the leverage of agents. Again, this is a hypothetical. We know that a lot more goes into, speccing and discussing and building bill of materials, et cetera. But this is, I think I wanted it to be sort of like topical that would be relevant to everyone. So now that we kind of understand how this works, we can understand the leverage of agents and its services story too, right? So we can all build agents like this. If we have Microsoft Copilot for 365, we can build agents like this. We can show our customers how to build agents like this, and you as partners can offer it as a paid service, right? So let's take a look at what the finished service or agent might look like. So here's the agent doing real work. A partner asks it a question straight out of the field. Customer has a 4 to 6 person room. They're still using BYOD. Where do I start? And then we can look at the answer, right? It identifies the white space, those small and medium rooms, and exactly where Copilot value kind of disappears or starts to go flat in a BYOD scenario. And it standardizes on a certified all-in-one solution, native Teams room per the guardrail. It flags that all 8 qualify for express install, which is our 401 motion in 2 weeks, and it tees it up perfectly, right? And explains why in business terms. It's not just spitting out an Excel document, right? It's saying every seat is heard and seen, complete facilitator notes, and then it offers to draft, a partner or customer ready summary if you wanted it to go that far. Again, you set up the guardrails and the parameters. So in a few seconds, like a generalist kind of just became an advisor, right? Or if we're a salesperson or someone who is, having early customer conversations with customers early on in their room modernization project. And that's the power that these agents have, right? Because it's built on accurate, trusted, relevant information. You set the guardrails, governance is built in, and then everyone has access to it. We can scale it, right? So we don't all have to be experts in a topic. We can leverage agents to help us do some of these things in the background. So before we kind of zoom out to look at the big picture, there's 2 quick tips to make agents stick. So with the same spirit as the don't forget tips that we had in the 101 with bookmarking prompts and scheduling prompts, there's a few small habits that could really make the difference between a cool demo and something that your team actually uses every day, because agents aren't necessarily the if you build it, they will come tool. I've built a lot of agents. I've shared a lot of agents. And it isn't just something where people think automatically like, oh, I'll go to Amanda's virtual agent instead of asking her. Because you are the person, you're still the expert. People will sometimes default to still going to you, the person. So here's a way that we can kind of start to drive adoption to get people to use the agents that you build. So you can pin them. You can pin your agents in Teams and in the Copilot app so that the ones that you use most are right there. They're not buried in a list somewhere. You can share them again. So once an agent is built and shared multiple times across your whole team, it becomes something that everybody remembers and to start using and leveraging. Keep the knowledge fresh, right? So when the device catalog or a guidance changes, we want to update the source so the advice or the output stays current. And we always want to mind the guardrails too, right? So clear instructions, respecting data permissions are what earn our trust, and how we can build adoption with these types of tools. So if we can do this, agents become part of how we work every day, not just something that we think about sometimes if we remember, right? So now we kind of understand agents. Hopefully, we understand when to use them, where to use them, and potentially how to build one. But now I want to close the loop on how everything that we talk about today points directly at the conference room and at our partner opportunity. There is one line to hold. Agents made the room a participant in the meeting. The room, the device is a participant, right? Now the room has to be ready to participate. So let's make the business case for that. Let's first anchor in where the market actually is. And these are straight from Ilya's comments in the keynote that he presented at InfoComm last week. So let's start with adoption. 2 in 3 people now say that AI lets them spend more time on high value work, right? 86% say they're producing work they simply would not have had access or time to do a year ago. And the next one matters the most for trust conversations. 58% treat AI's output as a starting point, not a final answer. So people are staying responsible for the thinking. There's still accountability in all of this, right? So it isn't hype. It's already changing how work gets done. Now, if we connect it to our world, there's already more than 1.5 million Teams Rooms active licenses out there. That's the installed base all of this AI actually has to run in. And we actually have a new training partnership coming up with Avixa next quarter in FY27 that is going to bring the AV community into this motion right alongside us. So these are just kind of teasers, right? There's a ton of training information and enablement coming your way. But here's the line to land. Adoption is here. The room is where it either works for everyone or quietly breaks. And that is the bridge into everything that follows here. So the logic chain that I want every partner to be able to kind of run in their sleep. Step 1, your customers are buying Copilot. They are investing real money in agents and meeting AI for their people. Step 2 is that most of that collaboration happens in rooms. We're all going back to the office. It is shared physical spaces where we are now meeting again. Step 3, if those rooms are BYOD, a laptop on the table, AI breaks. Voices are unheard, the room is unseen, the notes are partial. The experience they paid for is not showing up. Step 4 is a native Teams Rooms delivers it. Every seat is captured and the agents work as promised. And this is the punchline that changes the motion, right? Because the conversation is no longer, hey, we should do some room refreshes. That's discretionary, right? It's nice to have, it's easy to defer conversation. Instead, it becomes, you're already paying for Copilot. Let's make sure it works in this room. And that reframes Teams Rooms from an AV upgrade into a requirement to protect an investment that the customer has already made. That is a need, not a nice to have. The needs get funded, right? Not the nice to haves. So we just said that the agent can only help if the room can hear and see everyone. The keynote that Ilya provided showed exactly how that happens now. So think of this as the proof behind that claim. So it starts with enrollment. We now have express voice enrollment, generally available this month. So that lets anyone enroll their voice in seconds. So the room instantly knows who's speaking. From there, the room recognizes enrolled people. It isolates each individual voice, even when a few people talk at once, if that ever happens in your meetings like it does ours. And then IntelliFrame goes a step further, and it puts names on the people in the room, labeled faces, not anonymous boxes. That's in public preview. More to come on that. And here's again why that matters, right? Because that clean who said what flows straight into the recap, the notes, the action items, so that the follow-ups land on the right people automatically. That leads to better outcomes, right? And meetings where we can say we actually accomplished something instead of just talked about something. So the takeaway is that enrollment turns the room from just a microphone into a participant that actually knows the team. Again, every voice is heard, every face is known, every action is attributed. None of that happens if we just have a one-on-one, laptop, one person, one voice in the meeting, sitting on the table. So remember the facilitator, the shared meeting agent that we've talked about a few times. The keynote's big news from Ilya is that now it runs natively inside the Teams rooms itself, and it's invoked by your voice. So everything on this slide is public preview next month. On the voice side, you can invoke Facilitator just by speaking. Hey, Facilitator brings it into the room. It does ad hoc note-taking on command, meaning it can start capturing notes by simply asking out loud, no laptop needed. Room readiness has it prep the space and flags issues before the meeting even starts, right? So is there a chair sitting in front of the camera? It will now proactively address that type of room readiness. And because the facilitator, because it's facilitator, it's shared with everyone present. It's not just a personal one-to-one assistant, right? So now everyone knows, like, hey, move that chair out of the way of the camera, right? So on the knowledge side, the room assist answers questions about the meeting and the space in real time. And external knowledge lets it pull in approved sources to answer right there in the room. So why this is the punchline of the section. The facilitator was already the star of using agents. Now it lives in the room. It's hands-free for everyone in that meeting at once. That is the agent making the room matter. It makes the room real. And every one of these skills assumes that the room can actually hear and see the people in it, which is exactly the native Teams rooms hardware conversation that our partners lead. And this is the heart of the series, right? So this is the slide that I would, do a screen grab and refer back to this one. Today, we are really good. We've always been really good, naturally kind of chasing the large, complex rooms. I get it. That is where the biggest single project revenue is, the design, build, deploy work, which is so important to our business. But in doing that, sometimes we leave other opportunities on the table. There we have small rooms, medium rooms where we're not video enabling them. I think we have barely, we have 80% of the white space left in the US for rooms we know are not video enabled yet, right? And if we know that there's 80% white space left, I'm guessing there's around 10% of those rooms that are actually those large complex rooms. So we have 70% of rooms that need to be video enabled that are considered small or medium, right? So we don't want to leave those opportunities on the table, and we don't want to create those gaps for our customers. So what that does is it builds an inconsistent AI experience as we walk room to room, right? And here's the kicker. The majority of the customers' rooms are probably small and medium, right? They have several large complex rooms, but the rest, which is most, are those small and medium rooms. So unaddressed white space isn't a rounding error, right? It's most of the building. So flip it to opportunity. Once a customer is invested in Copilot and agents, native Teams rooms devices belong in all of their rooms, not just the showpiece ones, because the agent needs to work everywhere. Consistency is where the customer wins with their Copilot investment. And for our partners, those standard small, medium rooms are volume. It's repeatable, it's scalable, it's services-led business that compounds, right? Instead of one bespoke build at a time. An express install, which is going to be a huge focus of the 401 session on July 8th, is what makes deploying them fast and easy. So the bet is simple. Lead with conversations around Copilot and agents, and the room conversation expands from a handful of rooms to every room in the building. And that is the growth, right? That is where we create this consistent AI story for our customers. So let's land these key takeaways, and then I'm going to hand it to my friend Josh. 1, agents act, they don't just answer. There's goal, knowledge, action. And that's the leap beyond the assistant that you already have and know about today with Copilot. 2, use what's already there. Then build your own. Start using Facilitator, Planner, Researcher, and Analyst. They are ready today. They're building custom agent in 4 no-code steps, right? We want to describe, add knowledge, add actions, test, share. 3, the agent is what makes the room matter. Shared in-room AI only delivers if the room can hear and see everyone. And that means native Teams Rooms devices, not BYOD. And then 4, sell the consistent experience, right? So Copilot and agents in every room, not just in small and medium, or not just large complex rooms, is a huge growth motion. And it's really critical for our customers' experience and their investment, right? So if you remember one sentence from today, make it this. If you or your customers are investing in Copilot, your next question is simply, does the AI work in every room that they meet in? And that question opens up the opportunity for Teams rooms and every conversation that you will have for the meeting rooms. One quick timely update is that, let me just check. Actually, I'm going to come back to this one because this is a new topic and we can actually build this into the next 401 session. So let me skip a couple of these slides and introduce my friend Josh. So Shure is here with us today. So everything that we covered today depends on one thing. The agent can only help if it can actually hear everyone in the room. And that is what Shure does with expert precision, right? So they build the premium audio, the microphones, the sound systems, and now their Teams Rooms devices that capture every voice clearly, which is what Copilot and agents need to deliver better outcomes from our meetings. So Copilot brings the intelligence. Shure makes sure that every voice is heard. And to show how that is coming to life, I'm going to hand it over to Josh Blaylock, my friend from Shure. I'll go ahead and stop sharing so that you can share.
Amazing tee up. Thank you, Amanda. And let me go ahead and get this present in Teams. Oh, present. All right. Yeah, very well said. And Amanda alluded to it several times during the conversation about how devices actually are sitting at the forefront of receiving this data before it makes its way onto the agents. Before I go any further, I'll just say your audio sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Amanda.
I've got the right device, don't I?
Just an observation. Quick intro to myself. My name is Josh. I am the director of UC Ecosystem and Engagement at Shure on a relatively new team there, our Strategic Alliances team. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, that's my QR code. But looking through the attendee list, I think many of us are already connected. So there you go. I'm going to ask a couple questions here that just kind of reinforce exactly what Amanda was saying and maybe reframes it in a slightly different view, but it's the same concept and the same question that's being asked when we're talking to our customers, right? And that's, hey, this future-facing exercise we do, where will your organization be in its AI journey in 2 years? Everyone at an executive level always likes to look forward and say, well, what's the 2-year, what's the 5-year plan? What do things look like at that point? Right, we're stepping into the AI journey. There were some interesting stats there that were shared about where different companies are in that. But in 2 years from now, at the pace of innovation that is happening and the pace of change in our companies, honestly, where are you as an organization going to be 2 years from now? What new muscle memory will you have built about using these agents, about the workflows that are related to agents, about the data we expect to get out of any meeting space, including every conference room, including rooms that right now maybe are BYOD rooms, right? Where are you going to be in 2 years on that journey? And then with that question answered, I think most organizations would be saying in 2 years, we're going to be pretty far advanced. We're expecting to do all kinds of crazy cool things with agents and AI. So then we can ask, does that vision align with your current IT investments, the investment decisions that you're making right now, right? Because that's, if we are right now saying, well, in 2 years from now, we're going to be a full-blown Copilot, AI, we have agents doing all this cool stuff. This is the way we work. All of our data flows in this way. But right now, we want to buy X devices to get us through the next 5 to 7 years and for all these BYOD scenarios. As we just saw from all those previous slides, those two answers, they don't align. They're not in agreement with each other. An environment where you've got all these rooms serving up blind spots to those agents that does not align with where you envision yourself to be in 2, 3, 4 beyond years. So those two questions for me are really the foundation as we talk to customers. That's where I see a disconnect right now, right? Is we are excited about where AI is going, what Copilot can do, what all these agents are starting to do for us. We see the value. We're interested in getting deeper. We're still bringing this older set of requirements as far as what we need in each of these rooms. When we understand what is required 2, 3, 4 years from now, that kind of changes the answer about those current IT investments. Now, on the Sure side of things, we love to pivot into that conversation about where things are now into the Intellimix foundation system, because a lot of organizations, when they have that aha moment, they still have the conundrum of, yeah, but we've already purchased all these other devices. We've got this ROI that we're trying to solve for. We've got some intelligent video capabilities here. We've got some other audio here. Maybe some of it already is Shure audio. Maybe some of it's third-party Dante audio. They want to extend that ROI. They don't want to do a complete rip and replace, right? But they do recognize the need for certified Teams rooms and the best possible audio cleaned up by DSP capabilities. How can they achieve that? How can they extend the ROI on those purchases while achieving native Teams rooms, properly certified, properly enabling the agents on the back end? That's where the Intellimix foundation system comes into play. It is the compute in the room from Shure. It is the touch panel from Shure. And that compute on board has a software-based DSP that does all the incredibly powerful things that you would expect a physical DSP to do for cleaning up the audio in room, regardless of whether it's Shure audio that's coming through a ceiling mic or whether it's some third-party Dante connected solution. That audio is being processed by the DSP on board and then handed off to the agent on the other end that is going to be able to unlock all the value that was just talked about. So that is the foundation system. When we go beyond that and we build on a foundation system, a customer says, that's amazing. You're telling me I can extend the ROI on all these pre-existing purchases. I can still get native Teams rooms. I can unlock that 80%, and we can really start to utilize the power and value here. Awesome. I want to further standardize. What can we do to standardize in maybe some of the net new rooms where I don't have existing peripherals and components that need to be pieced together? Not a problem. That foundation system is at the heart of every single Intellimix room kit bundle, and then we build on it so that you have a standard for every room size. All the way at the small end with our IMXR K30 that provides the compute, the touch panel, but also an MXA 902 in the ceiling. That is a combo mic array and loudspeaker, and it has a Hudley IQ attached to it. As we work our way up, we're tackling medium, large rooms with 1 or 2 902s in the ceiling, depending on the size of the room. And we step up to a Hudley L1. And finally, if customers need a multicam option, because AI is getting to an awesome point, and I imagine we're going to see a lot more use of the video in the room as time goes on by AI. That's where some of these multicam options might be very attractive to customers that need to standardize in this way. Going beyond that, coming to market very soon is the Intellimix Bar Pro. And this is where we have a built-on MDEP solution, purpose-built for large spaces, no extra peripherals needed to accomplish and achieve large spaces. It was awesome at InfoComm. We actually demoed a couple different express installs to preview what Amanda was talking about earlier with the Intellimix Bar Pro in large spaces alongside a couple partners there. And what's truly innovative here, I mentioned multiple cameras and that being a core component of how AI is going to continue to help our organizations moving forward. The visual context of the room. Shure innovated when they built the Intellimix Bar Pro by putting not just 4 cameras on the device, but 4 4K cameras positioned all the way across the front of the device. The 2 cameras at the outside are angled inwards so that you're getting different camera angles no matter where someone is at in that room at a long table. You're not having to rely on that center of device camera that's not getting an optimal view of someone down at the end of the table because the person in front of them is leaning in, blocking half their face. It will just intelligently switch to the camera that's got the best angle, and that way Intellimix View ensures everyone is seen, heard clearly in that space before handing off all the intelligent audio and video that needs to be handed off to the agents on the other end. So just a little bit about where our collaboration portfolio is currently, and stay tuned beyond this. We will be selecting one of you very lucky attendees today to receive the Aonic 50 Gen 2 headset.
Awesome.
Amanda, back to
Yes,
you.
thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share. If my computer, yeah, it's not going to let me share my screen. I don't know what's
I'm
going on, guys. I'm
stopping
having
here.
trouble with my PC today, but I have my spinny wheel. I'm gonna just share you guys a copy of this in the chat because it's not working right now on my computer, so that you know that I actually did add your names to the spinny wheel. So I'm gonna come back to that. I'll email everybody and put it in the chat after the session. And I appreciate everybody being here. This will be up on my YouTube channel and a quick newsletter follow-up so that you can bookmark links and prompts, et cetera, that you need to refer to afterward. We'll be out probably by end of the day tomorrow. And then I'll look forward to seeing you on July 8th. We're going to talk about Express Install. We're going to talk about how to build a services portfolio around some of the things that we learned today. Have a longer Q&A session in that 401 session as well. And then in August, you'll get the level 2 4-part series for everybody. So I appreciate you guys so much for being here. Have a great 4th of July week next week and a good holiday, safe holiday. Josh, thanks so much for being here. It's so great to see you. It was great to see you at InfoComm last week as well. Appreciate everybody, and we'll talk soon. See you, everybody.
Thank you.